Typical microwave oven is about 1,000 watts. Well, I'm wondering what kind of fun could be had with an oven that's 20 times stronger. Now, I'm sure many of you have wondered this as well. But if not, the big brain way to answer this question would be to take a UV visible spectrum, fit it to the Planck radiation law, and determine the temperature that way. But you know what? That doesn't sound nearly as fun as chucking a bunch of metal in there and seeing what kind of
Chat,
hell
you can
is
cook
unleashed.
metal with microwave?
So yeah, let's do that. Let's see if the microwave can melt magnesium ribbon, or at least see what kind of plasma it'll make. Not only did it melt and burn in there, but it also managed to show off some of its green spectral
Man, what
color,
the fuck?
which is in contrast to the white you get by simply burning it in air. Aluminum melts at only slightly higher temperatures than magnesium, but for the sake of curiosity, I'm gonna toss some foil in there anyway.
Oh, it's gonna blow up.
Alright, here goes nothing.
Oh, shit.
Now that is like an arc furnace. Oh my goodness. Now it's time for something more challenging. Copper needs to be very hot before it melts. So let's see how it holds up in the microwave. Oh yeah, it melted almost instantly.
Oh,
Now
shit.
this also brings up an important
Chat, chat, what if you put this at 100x and you put it on a handle? Can you make a lightsaber?
about the glass. It's actually astonishing how well these Pyrex beakers have held up to the plasma. The same cannot be said about this Pyrex bakeware. The difference is that the beakers are made from borosilicate glass, which has very low thermal expansion. Pyrex bakeware used to be made from this as well, but has since been changed to tempered float glass, and its internal stress patterns are easy to see in a polariscope.
Oh, I see, yeah.
This change is unfortunate for home science, but it does make
It
for
blows
less
up.
dangerous breaks in the kitchen, as it tends to explode into tiny bits as opposed to razor shards. Anyway, let's move up the temperature scale to some thermite. Thermite is so hard to ignite that you can buy it pre-mixed and have it shipped to you without crazy restrictions.
What?
I'm hoping this microwave can achieve its high ignition point.
Huh?
Yeet. Huh, so that's what it took to break one of those beakers. It basically just exploded in there. All the iron product is dispersed in little droplets. That was fun. Although that reaction made molten iron, it was kinda cheating due to all the chemical energy released. Let's try directly melting some iron in the form of steel wool. Yep, no problem there. Next on the list is titanium. This stuff is quite hard to melt.
Chat, why don't they just put this, but they keep ramping it up? Put it at 1,000,000 watts. Or can you melt anything? And you can evaporate some fucking like steel. What if you put a boat in there? You put 1,000,000 watts. You put a fucking boat in there and you melt it. Because I mean, a full
I think the
on boat.
microwave can pull it off. All right, let's melt some titanium.
Why? But no, it's not why. It's why not. You know how much it costs to disassemble a boat so they can sell the scrap metal? Well, it's expensive as shit.
That was so bright. Oh my god. Oh my god. I'm running out of metals with higher melting points, so this time I'm going to try
Put a
making
cell phone.
rubies, based on a cool video by Nighthawk and Light. Okay, so I ran into a lot of issues with this one, but it was mostly due to stupidity on my part. The gist of this procedure is that you use a microwave plasma to melt an alumina-chromium mix, which yields ruby. However, for some reason, I thought Ben's procedure generated the alumina via an exotic thermite reaction between chromia and metallic aluminum. This false assumption led to a lot of broken glass and several failed shots. The funny part is that my chromia thermite still ignited with ease, which is probably even harder to pull off than making ruby. However, when I used alumina like I was supposed to, I still ran into issues. The plasma escaped and the glass container exploded after just a couple seconds. Fortunately, this was still enough time to finally make some ruby. Thank goodness.
Oh, that's cool.
You know, the fact that this can be done in a normal oven means I really haven't hit an impressive temperature yet. So, let's cut the fluff and move to something extreme. It's time for the metal with the highest melting point, tungsten. The melting point of this is literally thousands of degrees above anything else I've tried so far. So this one might be challenging.
Chat, but you can buy only this because it's thin, right? Like, you can put a cube in there.
For whatever reason, the plasma in this beaker kept escaping confinement, so I couldn't give it a long enough zap. The wire may have burned a bit in there, but there wasn't any clear indication of melting, so I decided to give it another go on ceramic fiber. Heck.
Dude, that doesn't look safe at all.
Waveguide flashover.
But this is cooking up some
Turns
fucking
out,
bombs in his
free
basement or
plasma
some
in
shit
the
like
oven is
that. I
really
mean,
bad, because it jumps back to the magnetron through the waveguide. I used these mica waveguide covers, which buy about a half a second of plasma escapes, but this one got all crispy without me realizing it. It won't take many flashovers like this to destroy the oven. And unfortunately, this is not the first time this has happened either.
it'll break itself.
Heck.
That makes
Alright,
sense, actually.
New waveguide cover. Let's try this again.
That's nothing.
That run clearly melted some of the tungsten, as you can see by the beading on the wire. Now that is impressive. So this macrowave is capable of melting any metal. But the thing is, I'd bet that plasma in there is substantially hotter than even
Chat,
tungsten's
did you not get the
melting
microwave into your
point.
brain though at that distance and shit?
There's nothing tougher that I can melt, so I can only say it's at least 3,422 degrees C. Now, something that I found is that although tungsten is the toughest metal I can throw in there, it's far from the most interesting.
Now put a bunch of bullshit
To
in
get to
there.
the point, what happens if I microwave a lithium battery?
A phone.
Well, embarrassingly, I couldn't
A
get
remote.
one to pop. The oven itself would flash over
Put
before
a
anything
glizzy in there,
happened to the
low-key.
battery. I tried cheating by using some steel wool to initiate a plasma, but even then, the plasma refused to stay contained. So, I decided on a different approach.
You just disassemble it.
I carefully opened one up and
Yeah.
extracted
Oh no,
the
that's
lithium
that's
foil
gonna burn up
inside.
easily.
Microwaving this foil gave a surprising result.
Holy shit!
That incredible red coloring is due to lithium's atomic emission spectrum. What I expected to see was maybe a few red flashes in an otherwise white plasma, simply because the temperatures are so high. The fact that the colorful spectral lines were favored opens up the possibility of all sorts of colorful plasmas. Now this brings up the question, what happens if I start chucking a bunch of weird chemicals and metal?
Question, chat. Is it possible to make a mini nuke, like a small nuke, like this big? Like the same thing happens in a nuke, but that big though, like a fucking bang.
In there? Can I make a full rainbow of plasmas, at least to a
This is big. I mean, I'm always this big.
Well, there's only one way to find out.
Really?
For the next weird metal, let's try a lump of calcium. This sample is surprisingly still shiny, even though I've had it for years. I'm hoping it'll show off its orange spectral lines when yeeted into
Fission.
a plasma.
Hey, yo, not bad.
Well, that was easy, and stupidly bright as well. On to the next one. For yellow, I'm gonna zap some sodium metal. For reasons I'll get
Sodium
into
metal?
soon, zapping the angry and highly reactive metallic form is a totally unnecessary way to see the sodium spectral colors. However, for the sake of memes, I'm gonna do it anyway. I do need to address something first, though. The last time I pulled out this lump of sodium, so many of you freaked out over the quantity. Now let me tell you a little something. This little chunk right here is nothing. In fact, when I was 13 years old, I obtained 2 400-pound barrels of metallic sodium. Now that's a story for a different day, but be assured, this ain't much. Well, anyway, yeet.
All right.
I want to point out that this exact yellow color has shown up in this video several times already, and in particular, all the times that glass has broken into plasma.
Chad, doesn't some of these materials burn up under oxygen, like potassium or something?
Now, Nile Red actually has an entire video on this very effect. It turns out, it only takes a little bit of sodium to make a lot of yellow light.
Water.
And this can be a blessing or a curse depending on what you're trying to do. With yellow down, let's move on to
Water reacted,
green.
interesting.
I'm mixing up some trimethylborate, which will hopefully show off boron's spectral colors. Since this isn't conductive on its own, I'm using a sliver of aluminum wool to initiate it. It's funny because the free boron must have been thousands of times more concentrated than sodium in there. Yet it's the sodium yellow that stuck out at first. Eventually, the boron won out though, making a nice green color.
That's kind of cool.
Well, green was easy enough, so how hard can blue be?
Chad, what if you did this, Chad, with like the color of, like, let's say, like your country, you know, make a cool light show, whatever, like blue, red, white, like the USA, it's kind of cool.
I figured
like
copper
a
would be the
celebration.
element to zap, but then I remembered that when I melted it,
That's fireworks!
It didn't make much
Oh my
blue
God!
light.
That's
But
fireworks!
The thing about copper. It has to be tickled in just the right way before it'll spit out blue light, and this is why blue is such a challenge in fireworks. So I tried a pyrotechnics trick and added a source of chlorine in the form of copper chloride.
I just said that.
This one sucked. I was hoping for blue emission from hot molecular copper chloride.
I said
But
that.
this really only made a little bit of blue. Maybe the plasma was too hot in there. I don't know. Let's try something else. Microplastics. Maybe this will provide a better form of chlorine for the
PVC.
copper.
Chat,
There were
just
a
the
few
smell of
good
them
flashes
is
of blue
terrible,
in there,
no?
But still not what I wanted.
Burnt PVC smells like
Maybe
dog
I just
shit.
need to change metals.
It's
I
disgusting.
carefully
I
opened up
hate
a
it.
lantern battery to extract the zinc metal casings.
That's straight cancer.
What do you know? Sodium yellow. I even tried a strip of high purity zinc, and although this one briefly flashed blue, it was still the trace sodium contamination that stole the show. Yellow chemistry at its finest.
Dude, put something crazy in there, like some mercury or some shit.
And what do you know? There's the last of the colors, violet. I didn't stop there though. I was curious what would happen if I made an alloy of gallium and indium, and then zapped that.
There you go.
Sure enough, a nice clear indigo started to come through. After playing with ratios and settling on an alloy that was mostly indium, I created my favorite plasma of this entire project.
Oh wow. That's all. Yo, that's the chat. That's the Thanos chat.
Wow!
The Thanos burn. That's what it's called, man.
Perfect! That's beautiful! Yes! Yes! Ah, that was perfect! Oh, so beautiful! Ah, I'm sorry. Ah.
I've made every color I wanted to and melted every element I wanted to. And I don't even want to stop here. However, this video is getting pretty long. There's still so much more I want to do with my huge magnetrons. I even made this cool Faraday helmet for some of my more cursed ideas. I should probably save those experiments for a separate video, just because I don't want to rush through them.
Chat, is that to take, if there's a shock that goes stray, that it doesn't hit him in the face, it will go on a rod before and then it gets dispersed?
Instead, let me try to address some questions that I just know you guys will ask about otherwise. What does it do to electronics? Well, most things I threw in there gave the same result.
Shouldn't it have a beak
Sticks,
then?
Plasma. Neon bulbs?
Hey, Ram, dude!
Plasma. PCBs? Plasma.
Dude!
Christmas lights? Some funny colors, but mostly plasma. The only electronic device that didn't ionize was this broken calculator, but the smoke it made was essentially a chemical war crime. I tried CDs as well, but their coatings vaporized in a fraction of a second. So, what about the health risks of this contraption?
Yeah, he might dub his own videos.
Well, the
who
real
knows?
risk here isn't microwaves, it's the
Anyway, that was interesting.